Okay, so now we're going to discuss some of the properties. Some of these properties we talked a little bit about last week, and some of them you should know. So commutative is where you switch it. You know, when you say something like, you have 5 times 43, and you're like, no, I want to do 43 times 5. That's commutative. That's a commutative property. Or when you have 99 plus 101, I usually like to write it as 101 plus 99. Whenever you switch the order of something, you guys, that's commutative. Last week, we did, on the Algebra 2, we did associative. That's where you do different groupings. When you have like 5 plus 3, and these are in plus 7, and you're like, well, I would rather do 5 plus 3 plus 7, because you know 3 plus 7 is 10. It's where you say, I'm going to add whenever you say, I'm going to add these two numbers together first, that's associative. Identity is whenever you add 0 to a number, you get the same number. And multiplication is whenever you multiply. So this would be like 5 plus 0 equals 5. This would be 5 times 1 equals 5. So identity is when you get the same number as your answer. So this would be like 5 plus 0 equals 5. This would be 5 times 1 equals 5. Last week we talked about, we did talk about the inverses. So anytime you have an inverse, when you add it equals 0. Multiplication inverses are when you multiply and you get 1. So here the signs are opposite. Here it's just flipping the number upside down. Closure is when A plus B is a real number, A times B is a real number. So if I give you two numbers and you multiply them together and you get a real number, that's closure. It has to be in the set of real numbers. If I give you two numbers and you multiply them and you get a real number, that would be closure of multiplication. The reason this is important is because I want to say in chapter 3 or chapter 4, probably chapter 4, we start talking about imaginary numbers. And then you know the distributive property. You go like this, and you multiply and you get A times B plus B times C, or you can go backwards. The number can be behind the parenthesis. Okay, I just want to point out a couple things. Additive inverses have opposite signs. Multiplicative inverses has the same sign. So additive inverses have opposite signs. Multiplicative inverses have the same sign. Okay. Name the property illustrated. So I have 2 times the sum of x plus 3 equals 2x plus 6. So what did I do to get 2x plus 6? I used the distributive property. So we're going to write the distributive property. You guys, at any time, if you feel like you need more room, please feel free. I believe that these are page 5 notes. No, these are page 6. So put a page 6 at the top. I'm just going to put page 6. So these are page 6. Okay, so now we're going to do the additive inverse and multiplicative inverse. Well, I have 1.25. So what would the additive inverse be? I'm going to abbreviate that as AI. Say it louder, I can't hear you. Yep. So that's the additive inverse. For the multiplicative inverse, we actually have to do a little bit before we can just take the opposite of it. So the first thing that you need to realize is that this is a fraction because multiplicative inverses are reciprocals. So anybody know how to write this as a mixed number? 1 and 1/4, okay? 25 over 100, 1/4, because 25 over 100 is 1/4. Now I need to make it into a improper fraction. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 1 is 5. So now the multiplicative inverse is, final answer is 4 over 5. So I had to do all of that before I could find the multiplicative inverse. Okay, what is the additive inverse for 2.5? I love additive inverses, right? Because they're nice. Negative 2 1/2. Now, what do I need to do to the multiplicative before I can find, what do I need to do to the number before I can find the multiplicative inverse? What do I have to do to 2.5? You can go ahead. We have to make it improper. So you guys, you just can't go from there to the multiplicative inverse. You can't just say, oh, it's 2 and 2/1/2. You have to make it improper. So 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 4. No, it's not. It's 5 over 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. So it's 5 over 2. But that's not our multiplicative inverse. What do I need to do to 5/2? Flip it. And I get 2/5. Okay, we're almost done. Kayla makes $8 per hour working at a grocery store. The number of hours Kayla worked each day in 1 week are 3, 2.5, 2, 1, and 4. How much money did Kayla earn this week? So how are we going to figure out how much money she made? Victor?
You're going to add up all the hours she works, multiply it by 8 per day, and then multiply it by 7.
I don't think you have to multiply it by 7 because this is how much she worked each day. So you only have to multiply it by 8. Because it says the number of hours worked each day in 1 week. So this is how many hours she worked each of the days. So we're just going to multiply it by 8. And 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. So this becomes 12.5 times 8. You guys, did you notice that when I did that, I added the 3 and the 2? That was a grouping. Like, that's the associative property. When you change and you rearrange, it's like a mixture of commutative and associative. And then what is 12.5 times 8? So Kayla made $100. On some of your homework, they're going to ask you to use a distributive property. They're going to ask you to simplify. They might ask you to justify some of your answers. So I need to simplify this expression. So what property am I going to use first? So I'm going to distribute the 3 onto the 4, and then I'm going to, so let's do that one first. 3 times 4 is 12x. 3 times negative 2 is 6y. Now, see this is minus, see how it says minus 2? Well, I'm going to act like this whole parenthesis is not in front of it, and I'm going to distribute the negative 2. Negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x. Negative 2 times y is negative 2y. So if there's a subtraction sign, right, you need to take it with the number. So block everything out of that's in front of that negative sign, and you're going to distribute it. Now we can combine like terms. I always like to circle my like terms, you guys, because I'm old school and because I like visual things. If you don't like visual things, that's fine. So 12x minus 6x would be 6x. Negative 6y and negative 2y would be, yep. And then this is your answer.